The sky over planet Drexion was dark with smoke. Flames burned in the distance. The war between humans and the Drexians had just ended, but the battlefield still echoed with pain. Broken machines, torn flags, and fallen bodies covered the land. Silence followed the chaos. Kayla, a Drexian warrior, lay on the cold ground. Her armor was cracked. Her legs did not move. She could not feel them. A blast had hit her lower back, damaging her spine. Her people, the Drexians, had retreated quickly. They left the wounded behind. She had called for help, but no one came. Her golden skin was stained with blood. Her breathing was slow. She looked around with tired eyes. The ground shook once, more as human warships landed nearby. She closed her eyes, expecting death. Sergeant Ryan stepped out of the human dropship. He wore a dark combat suit and carried a rifle. His team was ordered to search for survivors, collect tech, and clear the zone. "Keep moving," his captain said. "No mercy for the enemy." Ryan didn't speak. He followed orders. But deep inside, something in him always felt strange about war. He wasn't just a soldier. He still had a heart. As they walked across the field, he noticed a strange noise. A soft, broken sound, like someone trying to breathe through pain. He stopped. "What is it?" another soldier asked. "Thought I heard something," Ryan replied. "Probably. A dying Drexian. Not your problem." The team moved on, but Ryan stayed behind. He followed the sound, step by step, past the smoke, past the dead. His boots crunched over metal and bone. Then he saw her. Kayla lay half-buried under a broken transport wing. Her armor glowed weakly. Her eyes were open, shining faint blue in the dark. They locked with Ryan's. She didn't speak. She couldn't. But her eyes, they begged. Ryan aimed his rifle at her. His finger rested on the trigger. One shot. That's all it would take. She was the enemy. She could be dangerous. But she didn't move. She didn't fight. She just looked at him. He saw fear, pain, but also something else, something no alien had ever shown him before. Trust. Ryan lowered his weapon. He looked around. No one had seen him. He walked closer. "Can you understand me?" he whispered. Kayla blinked slowly. "I'm not supposed to help you," he said. "But I won't leave you here." Kayla's lips trembled. She tried to speak, but only a small sound came out. Ryan kneeled beside her and gently touched her wrist. Her skin was warm. She flinched but didn't pull away. "Your legs, can you move them?" he asked. She shook her head very slowly. Ryan looked at her back. There was a deep burn where her spine connected. Her breathing was shallow. "You're paralyzed," he whispered. Ryan remembered something. His little sister. Years ago, she had fallen from a tree, broke her back, paralyzed. She had cried in the hospital bed, scared and helpless, and he had promised never to let her feel alone. Now, this alien reminded him of her. He looked up again. His team was far away now, almost out of sight. This was his chance. "I'll help you, but you must stay quiet," he said. Kayla blinked again. A tear rolled from her eye. Ryan grabbed a nearby blanket from a destroyed supply pack. He wrapped it around her. Then he searched for a cargo sled. He found a broken one, but managed to get it working again. Carefully, he lifted her and placed her on it. Kayla groaned in pain, but she did not scream. Ryan pulled the sled behind him, moving through the smoke and shadows. He knew a cave nearby, a spot they used during recon missions. He could hide her there for now. As he walked, his earpiece buzzed. "Sergeant Ryan, report. Where are you?" The voice of his captain echoed. He paused. His heart raced. "Checking. A heat signature, sir," he replied. "Might be one of ours. Be quick. We leave in 15. "Understood." He turned the comm off. Kayla looked at him again, her eyes full of questions. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I'm not like the others." The sun of Drexion began to rise slowly, casting a red glow across the dead land. But in the middle of that horror, something small had started. A moment of mercy in a world of war. Blood soaked the bandage on his left hand, but Sergeant Ryan didn't stop. His boots crushed ash and broken glass with each step as he dragged the sled behind him, hidden beneath darkness and smoke. The alien warrior he had rescued, paralyzed and half-conscious, lay, silent on the sled, her eyes half open, glowing like twin moons in the dust. Above them, drones buzzed, lights swept across the wasteland. If they found him now, it was over. Not just for her, but for him too. His own people would call it betrayal, treason. Helping the enemy was a crime punishable by death. But still, he didn't stop walking. Hours earlier, Ryan had sat quietly in the makeshift cave, staring at Kayla's still form. She hadn't spoken, not once, not even a whisper. Yet, he felt her thoughts, not in words, in feelings, pain, fear, shame, and then something else. A deep, strange emotion that caught him off guard. Gratitude. She was thanking him, without moving, without speaking. Somehow, her presence touched a part of him that had long been buried under years of orders, training, and war. Ryan rubbed his face with his hands and looked at the strange markings on her arm. Glowing softly, they looked like tiny stars across her golden skin. She was beautiful, not in a human way, but in a way that felt ancient, powerful, and broken all at once. He pulled out a protein bar from his kit and placed it near her lips. "You need energy," he said gently. Kayla blinked once. He broke the bar into small pieces and fed her slowly. "You're lucky I was the one who found you," he whispered. "Anyone else would have left you to die. Hell, even I almost did." He paused, but I didn't. He stood and walked to the entrance of the cave. The battlefield below was quiet now, but not for long. "Command will sweep this area by morning," he muttered, "and they'll kill anything that moves." Hours passed. Ryan tried to sleep, but couldn't. His mind kept replaying one image, the way she had looked at him. Those eyes, that quiet plea, that trust. Why had it shaken him so deeply? Suddenly, a soft voice echoed inside his mind. "You stayed." He sat up, startled. "Who said that?" he whispered, looking around. No reply. He turned to Kayla. Her eyes were closed. He leaned closer. "You stayed when they left." It wasn't her lips, it was her mind. She was inside his head. "You're speaking to me, with your thoughts," he whispered. Her eyes opened. Just a little. "I do not have much strength, but I remember your face. You did not walk away." Ryan swallowed hard. "You heard me when I found you. I felt you, like light in the dark." He took a deep breath. "You're not like the others, are you?" Kayla's voice was soft in his mind. "And neither are you." Silence fell again. Ryan sat down beside her. The wind howled outside the cave. Then her voice returned, weaker now. "My people will come soon, not to rescue, to erase. They burn all that remains, the injured, the broken. We are shame to them." Ryan stared at her in horror. "They kill their own wounded? It is mercy, they say." Ryan stood. "Then we have no time. We have to move you." Kayla's head barely nodded. He quickly gathered supplies, checked his rifle, and wrapped her in an extra thermal blanket. As he lifted her onto the sled again, she groaned, her face twitching from pain. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'll go slow. Do not let them take me." Her voice trembled in his head. "Please." Ryan looked down at her. "I won't," he promised. "No one's taking you. Not while I'm alive." As dawn broke, the cave faded behind them. Ryan moved quickly but carefully through the ruins. He knew where he needed to go. A crashed human ship not far from the canyon edge. Its cargo bay might still work. If he could power up its medpod, maybe he could stabilize her injuries. But time was running out. In the distance, alien war horns echoed. They were coming. Ryan gritted his teeth and pulled harder. Every step was a risk. Every second, a heartbeat, closer to death. But he kept going, because somewhere deep inside him he knew. This wasn't just about saving one life. It was about saving something human inside himself that war hadn't destroyed. The broken starship groaned with each gust of wind, its torn metal belly resting deep inside a rocky canyon. Its lights were dead, its systems offline. But for now it was a graveyard no one dared search. And inside that graveyard, a heartbeat. Sergeant Ryan knelt beside the alien warrior, his hands trembling as he connected wires to the medpod's cracked control panel. Sparks flickered, then faded. The screen remained dark. No power, he muttered. Come on. Just give me 5 minutes of life. Behind him, Kayla lay inside the pod, her golden skin pale, her body motionless. Her breathing was shallow. Her glowing markings had dimmed. She hadn't spoken into his mind since sunrise. Ryan bit down on his lip and reached into a toolbox. His hand brushed against an old emergency cell, a power cord just strong enough for one system. He smiled weakly. This better work, or we're both dead. 5 minutes later, soft white light bathed the inside of the pod. Machines hummed. The scanner moved over Kayla's body, reading internal damage, spinal cord fracture, lower limb paralysis, organ shock, neural inflammation. Red warnings blinked, one after another. But she was still alive. Ryan sank to the floor and closed his eyes. For the first time in 2 days, he let his shoulders drop. Let his fear catch up to him. He had lied to command, disobeyed orders, helped an enemy, stolen rations, risked his life. All for someone he didn't even know. He opened his eyes and looked at her. No, not someone. Kayla. Not a target. Not an alien. Just a living being who had been abandoned like trash. And somehow, he couldn't walk away. Hours passed in silence. Kayla didn't move, but the pod kept working, slowly cleaning her blood, stabilizing her pulse. Ryan sat nearby, watching. Then, a flicker. Her finger twitched. He leaned forward. Kayla? Her eyes opened, just a sliver. Weak, tired, alive. Still? Her voice touched his mind like a whisper. You are. The pod's keeping you stable, he said. Why? Risk this? He didn't answer at first. He looked at his hands, covered in oil and dried blood. I used to believe in this war, he said finally. Until I saw what it does. I watched us burn a village of civilians last year. Thought they were hiding weapons. Turned out they weren't. Just children. He took a deep breath. I didn't stop them. I just followed orders. But, you stopped now, she whispered in his head. He looked at her again. Because no one else would. And because you looked at me like I was a person, not a monster. Kayla closed her eyes again. For a moment, Ryan thought she had passed out, but then she spoke again. Your people think I am the enemy. But mine think I am broken. Her voice was heavy with pain, not the pain of injury, but the pain of rejection. Ryan leaned closer. You're not broken. You're alive. That's more than most. Outside the ship, thunder rolled, but it wasn't a storm. It was engines. Ryan rushed to the edge of the broken hull and peeked out. 3 Drexian scout ships flew across the sky, scanning the ground with glowing red beams. Kayla's people. He ducked back inside. They're here, he whispered. Kayla's eyes opened wide. If they find me, they will not save me. They will end me. Ryan's jaw tightened. Then we stay hidden. She shook her head slowly. They will search everything. Soon. You must leave me. He stood and walked to her side. Not happening. They will. Kill you too. Maybe, but I've made my choice. He grabbed a metal sheet from the floor and dragged it over the pod. Then he activated the emergency seal. A perfect cover. No scanner could read through it. Stay silent, he whispered. No matter what happens. He picked up his rifle and waited in the shadows, eyes locked on the broken entrance. His heart pounded in his chest. For 10 long minutes, silence ruled the wreck. Then, footsteps. Alien. Heavy. Close. Ryan held his breath. One step closer and they'd find her. One wrong sound and it was over. But the footsteps faded, slowly moving away, fading into the storm. He waited. 5 more minutes. Then 10. Silence. He returned to Kayla and uncovered the pod. She looked at him, eyes wide with disbelief. You stayed. He smiled. I told you I would. The sound came in the middle of the night, barely a whisper. A soft crunch of metal outside the starship wreck, like a boot, heavy, careful. Ryan's eyes snapped open. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. Another step, then silence. He slowly turned his head. In the dim light of the broken med pod, Kayla lay still. Her eyes were already open. She had heard it too. Someone is here, her voice whispered in his mind. He reached for his rifle. The safety was already off. They found us. Hours earlier, Ryan had finally repaired the portable scanner. It was old tech, scavenged from 2 wrecks, but it worked. The signal showed something terrifying. 2 human dropships, 1 Drexian patrol, both closing in from opposite sides of the canyon. His own people, and hers. Neither were coming to help. Ryan had stared at the blinking red dots on the scanner for a long time. Looks like we're not running from just one enemy anymore, he said quietly. Kayla watched him from the pod. Your people would kill you, just for helping me? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. They wouldn't just kill me, they'd erase my name, call me a traitor. Probably say I turned insane. And yet, you stay. I don't think I know how to walk away anymore. Now, crouched behind a broken wall inside the ship, Ryan waited. Footsteps echoed outside. Then voices. Not alien. Human. He felt a chill in his bones. He recognized one of them. Corporal Jace, his old teammate. Heat signatures coming from inside this wreck, Jace said. Could be tech or an injured target. Command says shoot anything unusual, another soldier replied. Ryan's grip tightened on his rifle. His heart pounded. He had once fought side by side with these men. Now they would shoot him without. Blinking. He looked back toward Kayla. She stared at him from inside the pod, her lips trembling. You must go. If they see you, you will die. No. Ryan. He moved to her quickly and whispered. If I leave, they'll find you. They'll destroy everything. I'm not running. Then, I will not let you fight alone. She sat up slightly, her arms weak, trembling, but trying, her face twisted with pain. Ryan held her shoulders. You can't move yet. You're not ready. Her voice was stronger now inside his mind. Neither are you, but we have no choice. Outside, a laser torch hissed to life. They were cutting through the outer wall. Ryan positioned himself behind a crate. He placed Kayla's pod behind a larger shield and covered it with metal. The door exploded inward. Flashlights sliced through the darkness. Go loud if needed, Jace ordered. Ryan raised his rifle. He had 1 shot, maybe 2, before they found her. But just as his finger touched the trigger, the ground shook. A deep hum filled the air. Drexian patrol ships appeared, above the canyon ridge. Contact from the east. Drexians incoming. A soldier yelled. Lasers burst across the sky. Red fire, screams, explosions. The humans ducked for cover as Drexian drones rained down fire. Ryan used the chaos. He grabbed Kayla, helped her onto his back, and sprinted through the side exit. Just as the ship exploded behind them, smoke and fire lit the night sky. Blaster bolts chased them as they ran through rubble and shadows. Ryan didn't look back. He just ran. Kayla's arms were around his shoulders, barely holding on. Her mind reached out to his again. Why do you carry me? Because I don't leave people behind. Even when you're the one being hunted? He smiled through the pain. Especially then. They stopped in a broken structure on the edge of the canyon, a forgotten Drexian tower, half collapsed but stable enough to hide in. Ryan collapsed to the floor, sweat pouring from his face. He laid Kayla down carefully and gave her water. She drank slowly, her strength nearly gone. I can't carry you, forever, he whispered, exhausted. She nodded weakly. Then I will learn to stand. Her hand moved, just slightly, then her arm. Ryan's eyes widened. You're getting stronger. Because you stayed. She stood on the cliffs of Velara, wind in her hair, a twin-bladed spear in her hands. Around her, the Drexian suns bled gold across the sky. Her armor shone like fire. Soldiers kneeled at her feet. Kayla the Unbroken, they chanted. She raised her weapon. Her voice thundered. We fight not because we hate, but because we cannot kneel. Then, darkness. Pain. Silence. The memory vanished like smoke. Kayla woke up inside a ruined building, her breath trembling, eyes wide with tears. She wasn't standing. She wasn't on Velara. She was broken, but someone had stayed, and he was standing by the door, guarding her. Sergeant Ryan hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, his body sore, but he kept scanning the horizon with his rifle. The sky was beginning to lighten with morning haze. Smoke still rose in the distance from the wrecked starship they had escaped. He didn't know how many had died. He didn't care anymore. He only cared about one thing now. Keeping her alive. Kayla watched him, quietly, carefully. He had done more than save her. He had believed in her, even when she couldn't move, even when she gave up. You should rest, she spoke in his mind. He looked back and smiled. I rest when you're walking. Then, you may never rest. He stepped toward her and knelt beside a pile of tech scrap. From it, he pulled a metal rod and wrapped fabric around one end. Try this, he said, offering her the makeshift cane. Kayla stared at it, then at her legs. Her muscles twitched, barely able to obey. I can't. You're a warrior, he interrupted gently. I've seen the fire in your eyes. She looked down at her trembling hands. That fire is gone. Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. No, it's just buried. Let's dig it out. Hours passed. Slowly, painfully, Kayla tried to sit up. Her spine shook. Sweat poured down her temples. She screamed, but didn't stop. Ryan caught her when she fell. Again and again, she cursed in her own tongue. He laughed. Did you just call me a useless, soft-boned mammal? She growled weakly. Something worse, he smiled. Good. She still had fight in her. By the second day, Kayla stood for 3 seconds without falling. On the third day, she took one step. Ryan watched it like a miracle. You're doing it. Kayla collapsed, gasping. Not fast enough. Fast. Enough to stay alive. He helped her back into the blanket. I used to train rookies, he said. Taught them how to hold rifles, how to walk after injury. One of them lost both legs. She learned to fight again. Kayla looked at him. Did she live? He paused. No. But she died fighting to save 5 others. Kayla nodded slowly. Then, she was not broken. That night, Kayla sat upright, beside the fire. She asked him something for the first time out loud in her rough, accented voice. Why do you stay? He looked at her for a long moment. I think I was waiting for someone to give me a reason. Kayla didn't speak again, but her eyes said everything. The next morning, the scanner beeped. Ryan grabbed it quickly. New signals. Close. Drexian drones. 20 clicks. And something worse. A human signal pinged red on the edge of the screen. A hunter unit. Both sides were closing in again. Ryan packed their supplies in silence. Kayla tried to stand without help. She didn't fall. "Looks like the training's working," he said, trying to smile. Kayla stared at the rising smoke. "They're not just looking for us. They're cleansing the land." "What do you mean?" Her voice echoed in his mind, sharper now. "Wounded. Enemies. Witnesses. Everything that reminds them of failure. They erase it." Ryan cursed under his breath. "We need to move before they sweep this sector." Kayla turned to him. "I can walk a little." "That's enough." He handed her a blaster. She took it, and for the first time since the battlefield, her grip was steady. The wind carried a quiet peace through the ruins that morning. Kayla stood at the edge of the broken watchtower, her hands gripping the stone railing. Her legs trembled, but she did not fall. The sunrise painted her golden skin in soft firelight. Her eyes closed, and for the first time in days, she breathed without pain. Below her, Sergeant Ryan worked on a transmitter surrounded by bits of scavenged tech. It felt almost normal, a human and an alien. No war, no sides, just silence and the sound of survival. "If I told you 3 weeks ago I'd be building a beacon for a Drexian," Ryan muttered, "I would have punched myself." Kayla chuckled weakly. "I would have killed you." They both smiled. It was a fragile, temporary joy, but then, a high-pitched whine cut through the air. Ryan's eyes widened. "Down!" he shouted. Kayla dropped as a blaster bolt tore through the wall behind her. The tower exploded in dust and fire. Drones. Fast. Silent. Armed. 3 of them descended through the canyon mist, red lights blinking beneath their wings. Ryan grabbed Kayla's arm and pulled her behind the rubble. "How did they find us?" she asked, coughing. "No idea." The scanner beeped on the ground, a blinking blue signal. Ryan cursed. "I forgot to kill the beacon. That's how." Blaster bolts lit up the sky. Ryan fired back, taking 1 drone out with a clean shot. But the other 2 swarmed faster now, scanning, targeting, adapting. Kayla grabbed the blaster he gave her earlier. Her arms shook, but her aim was steady. "Left side," Ryan called out. Kayla ducked under debris and fired. 1 bolt missed. The second hit a wing. The drone spun out, crashed into the cliffside. The third drone fired again. A bolt struck Ryan's shoulder. He cried out and dropped to 1 knee. Kayla screamed, not with fear but rage. She rose from cover, stood tall, and fired. The final drone exploded mid-air. Silence returned. Ryan collapsed against the stone wall, blood pouring from his arm. Kayla rushed to him, ignoring the fire in her legs. "Stay with me," she cried. His eyes were hazy. "Damn, thing got lucky." She pulled him into cover, ripped cloth from her own sleeve, and tied it tightly around the wound. "I need to get you inside." "No. Can't move much," he groaned. Her jaw clenched. "You carried me, now I carry you." She dragged him into the ruins of a temple nearby. Each step burned, but she didn't stop. Inside, she laid him down beside an old statue, half-broken, forgotten, like them. Ryan tried to speak, but his vision blurred. Kayla held his face gently. "Don't close your eyes. I think this is where I fall behind," he said, his voice cracking. She leaned closer, her thoughts clear and strong in his mind. "You don't die here. You gave me your strength. Now I give you mine." She placed her hand on his chest. For a moment, her markings glowed again, the ancient Drexian energy, weak but alive, and it pulsed between them. Outside, distant engines echoed, more drones, more soldiers. They would come soon. But something had changed. Kayla was not the broken warrior anymore. And Ryan was not just a soldier. They were both something new now, fighters not for war, but for each other. And they would stand together. They would tell stories about her one day. Of the warrior who rose from ash and pain, of the human she carried through fire and ruin, not as enemies, but as something the galaxy had forgotten existed, allies. But right now, Kayla didn't feel like a legend. Her legs screamed with every step. Her back burned from strain. Ryan's body, heavy and bleeding, leaned against hers as she half-dragged, half-carried him through the canyon. His face was pale, his breath short. "Kayla," he whispered. "Leave me." She didn't answer, because she remembered the day she was broken, lying paralyzed in the dirt, her own people leaving her to die. But he had not walked away. Now it was her turn not. The neutral zone shimmered in the distance, a glowing dome between human and Drexian territory. An old truce site, abandoned after the war reignited. No guards, no weapons, just silence and the echo of failed peace. Kayla reached the boundary and fell to her knees. Ryan groaned, coughing blood. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she said softly. "We did." Inside the dome, Kayla triggered an ancient distress beacon, built for diplomacy, not war. Its blue light flickered high into the sky. She sat beside Ryan, holding his hand. Her body trembled, but her heart did not. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid to be seen weak, because weakness, she had learned, was not the end. It was the beginning of truth. The sky answered. 2 ships descended. 1 Drexian, 1 human. Neither fired. No orders were given, just silence. Kayla rose, her body barely holding together, and faced them both. She held out her hands and dropped her weapon. A week later, the galaxy shifted. The footage spread across both human and Drexian networks, a wounded human soldier and a paralyzed alien warrior surviving together, protecting each other, defying their own people's hatred. It shook empires. In a garden at the edge of a peaceful outpost, Ryan sat on a bench, his arm still bandaged, watching birds fly across a red sunset. Kayla walked slowly toward him, her cane tapping gently on stone. She was still healing, but she stood tall. Ryan looked up. "You came." Kayla smiled. "I said I wouldn't leave you." He stood, slower than usual, and they met in the middle. 2 warriors, 2 survivors, 2 sparks in a galaxy of war, choosing peace. Final shot. Visual. Ending for YouTube video. A statue of them both stands in the center of the neutral zone. Kayla with her cane in one hand, Ryan with a healing band on his arm, their backs against each other, heads held high. The plaque reads, "When all turned, away they stood."